What's up, guys, and welcome back for another EVE Online solo mining episode 90. Getting pretty close to that 100, but we're going to be talking about a few things today, but just really kind of more or less talk about my goals moving forward, trying to accomplish some pretty decent stuff here in the next few months and everything. I am out here in the Skiff today. We're going to be doing a lot of Skiff mining, I think, probably for the next few weeks or so. And I think I really do miss how the Skiff used to operate. One of my biggest complaints with the last mining balance change was the kind of the nerf to the Skiff, losing a mid slot and just getting overall slow. But I think the whole purpose of the Skiff has just changed. I mean, I used to use it to fly around, gate pretty quickly around, and had the drone damage and stuff like that, and all those bonuses. And then whenever it got slower to get off grid, it kind of went outside of the purpose I was using it for. Getting quickly off grid now and traveling in a barge or exhumer level ship is now kind of the Procure is kind of the way to go there. But since I reacquired this Skiff and been kind of using it a little bit over the past few weeks, I do enjoy the fact that you can stack a lot of EHP on this ship. It can give you some warm and fuzzies. I have never spent my time like hunting miners. So I would assume that the Skiff is probably not one of the most ideal targets when trying to get easy kills in high sec or whatever. I think that in most cases you're probably looking for things like retrievers or Mackinaws or Hulks or Covetors or something like that. So Procure Skiff still has a pretty good place in my wheelhouse. I'm trying to decide right now if I want to actually get rid of the Skiff and just go strictly Mackinaw. We've been doing Mackinaw for over a year now, which is great. I still love the Mackinaw. I still think it's one of the best solo ships you can use in high sec because of just the ore hold and the yield and everything like that. But if being ganked and being killed and things like that is a concern for you, then I think Skiffs are by and far probably one of the better ships. You're going to be sacrificing some yield for that defense, but I figure we'll just kind of keep using it. I thought about actually just running the Skiff like ad nauseum until like I actually have a conflict with a ganker, but so far I really don't ever have anybody come on grid with me and don't really have to worry about things too much. But like I said, in this episode we're going to be just kind of mining here in the Skiff. I'm going to be talking about kind of goals moving forward with this series, kind of the evolution of this series since episode 1, and kind of like where I want to see this series kind of go and everything. And then we'll try to answer some questions. Probably have some questions here next from the channel. I haven't seen too many, kind of more of the same for the most part. But yeah, we're going to try to do, hopefully some decent amount of mining today and get some just high sec ore. That's really what I'm focusing on right now, is just high sec ore right now. And I think we'll probably branch into grabbing some kernite and just do some low sec mining. And then we might go on a stint hunting down rare ore sites just to kind of get a good amount of materials kind of stocked up and everything. One of the first questions I want to answer, this comes from my fleet mining guide video. I get this one a lot on this video, and it's basically asking, is this possible to do on one account? If you're a new player, you need to understand that like you can only run one character at a time per account. So in terms of that video where I'm running like 7 Hulks with a Orca, that what you see in that video is 8 separate accounts being used. If you're an alpha, you can't run any more than just that alpha account at a time. That's against TOS and stuff like that. So hopefully, if you're a new miner, then if you see somebody doing like 2 Hulks and a Porpoise, that's 3 Omega accounts that you have to worry about. And that's why you have to really kind of look at your income, how much you're mining, and whether or not your amount of playtime in mining or whatever can justify the cost of all of those. So hopefully that answers that question. The next one comes from Nomadic Mining, episode 14. It was a question for the Lancers, the Autothesian Lancers, and it asked what do they do if they scan your ship and you have a corpse in your cargo. I'm not really sure. I've never really actually carried corpses around, but I'm assuming that they would probably aggress you so that they could loot that corpse. I find Autothesian Lancers a pretty interesting addition to the verse because they're kind of they're just corpse cleanup rats. So it's to keep Nuian looking nice and pristine, we have NPCs that will literally go out and pick up corpses. Although most players will collect these kind of like trophies anyway, so very rarely do they kind of just stay out in space, unless somebody gets potted by an NPC or something like a trig or something like that. The next question comes from actually Nomadic Mining episode 1. Somebody asked, they were completely new to the game, or maybe they hadn't even started the game, but they're asking if you can fight other ships in EVE, and they prefer ship or games where you can have full PvP. And absolutely, EVE is a full PvP PvE game, so you can work really hard at getting a really nice ship fitted, undock it, and then get blown up immediately if you're not careful. So it is definitely a PvP core centric game for that. And then the other question, kind of more of a statement really, but I wanted to kind of address it anyway. But this is from the solo mining episode 65, which was my 2023 retrospective. But it was basically a statement saying, they're tired of people saying how high-sec mining isn't profitable, play how you want. And I've covered a lot of games in my time doing YouTube content, and I've noticed that a lot of people, especially meta chasers, people who will go on Reddit, figure out what the meta build or meta fit or something is to get an X amount of whatever per hour, min-maxing essentially. They will praise up and down a certain activity or a certain configuration because it's more efficient than something else. But I think what a lot of people need to realize is if especially in EVE, if an activity is let's say ratting in nullsec is going to be more ISK per hour than mining in highsec, obviously. But the problem is if you don't enjoy ratting in nullsec, then chances are you'll never actually realize that paper income that everybody boasts and everything like that. And also I just do believe that you should play exactly how you want. Find enjoyment, find things that you enjoy to do, and then you'll be able to make the most out of that, and you'll be able to enjoy your time playing too. I don't understand what the stigma is against high-sec mining. I've literally been high-sec mining on this character for over a year now, and I'm still having fun with it. And I think it's a lot of people get wrapped up in ISK per hour for the sake of ISK per hour. But it's if you don't have a whole lot of overhead, if you don't have to actually have a lot of ISK per hour requirement, then it doesn't really matter what you do as long as you're having fun. Because if you're not, you're going to burn yourself out and you're going to quit, so it's not going to matter anyway. So I will always be an advocate of finding a career or finding an activity in EVE that you enjoy and everything. The next question comes from Nomadic Mining episode 13. And it was asking if my Orca was set up for max drone yield. Yes, it is. I'm planning on doing probably a video over that Orca fit. It's max drone fit, but it's also set up with a 500 MN micro warp drive for the warp trick. So in most cases, I'm getting 10-second warp off of gates with that. It's also just set with a bunch of utility things like salvaging, tractor beam. And it also has a drone nav on it just to make the drones move at a higher velocity and things like that. And then also on another question is from Nomadic Mining 4. Is the Porpoise drone yield better than the Orca? No, it's not. If your Orca is going to be higher because of the roll bonuses and everything, but the Porpoise is nice because of travel. I think the question I think this question was originating from when I was talking about getting an orca or getting a porpoise to actually travel around with instead of an orca. The only reason I went with an orca was because I could just put all of my mining ships fitted into the maintenance bay. But I think a porpoise would be easier because you'd have to fit everything. You have to run like a rigless fit so you don't lose rigs every time. But the benefit of the porpoise is it travels faster, essentially. And you don't have to really rely on warp tricks or anything like that. And that's really kind of the benefit with all of that. But that's pretty much all the questions I see that are relevant right now. So I think we're just gonna like kind of talk a little bit about like where this series started, where we're at now, and kind of where we want to be in the future. Because I really hope that we can, put a lot more episodes down in this series, because I think it's been really insightful. It's been really an enjoyment for me to create this and kind of share my experiences and the things that I like to share about mining and stuff like that. So just for anybody that's like tuning in who may have not watched the series up to this point, hopefully I'll be able to shed some light on like how we changed direction from episode 1 up to episode 90. Now this series kind of started off with a very simple idea, and then that idea was taking Alpha Tune and basically mining solo to acquire Omega for the first time. It didn't take us very long to do that. It was like 47 days or 48 days. I can't really remember. But initially, when I developed this series, it came from a suggestion on the channel. I think I was doing Solo Omega and Solo Alpha series at the time. It was suggested that I do kind of the same thing, but for mining. So my intention in the beginning wasn't really to have this to be like one of the mainstays or like a really long running series. The original goal was to kind of just show the initial grind to the first month of Omega and then kind of go from there. But the series received pretty positive reception. So once we actually grabbed that first Omega, then it really kind of transformed more into a series that just was talking about all kinds of different mining situations in terms of solo mining. And the line is blurred a little bit because of like, solo mining with a single account and solo mining single heartbeat with like a fleet or something. And that allowed me to cover things like that I was doing with the Rorqual and with the Orca and with like different account setups and stuff. And then eventually it kind of became a very long form, like open discussion and answering questions that you guys had in terms of mining. And these are questions that for me, I couldn't just think off the top of my head. That questions that like a new player today or at the time would have had. So I'm really grateful for the reception of this series. It's been one of my most successful series. It's allowed me to kind of share my what I enjoy doing in EVE and hopefully help some newer players and stuff. And one of the big reasons why I kind of I stopped doing solo mining for a while because one of my biggest concerns was like I understood what the first initial challenge was, and I was concerned that like somebody starting at episode 1 and watching all the way up to the current episode would be really confused, because it was like we started off doing alpha grinding to Omega, and then now we're a podcast somehow. And I had thought about multiple times actually kind of sunsetting this series and like spinning it off into a more structured series, but instead of doing that, I just kept going with it and everything. In the future, I definitely want to focus more on traditional solo mining. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing a whole lot of fleet mining moving forward. I think I'll talk about it, but I think a lot of what we're going to be seeing is going to be single account stuff, and I think that's a little bit more it was probably a little bit more approachable by most players who don't want to commit or have multiple accounts, where they want to see what can be accomplished with a single account, and have the true solo nature of it. As much as I love like porpoise hulk mining, fleet mining and stuff like that, I think we've covered it enough in this series. If there's any significant changes to that strategy, then I'll probably cover them in dialogue. But I think that moving forward, running with one character and accomplishing a goal is going to be one of my biggest goals moving forward here. I don't really feel the need to go like into like low sec or poshman or null sec to like do a bunch of mining. I mean, it's like kind of like if it isn't broke, don't fix it. I do enjoy high sec mining. I don't have a need to grab a crazy ISK per hour. Really, it's about just having lasers on, making any sort of progression and stuff like that. And then also, hopefully, we can be tracking new changes to industry and mining. I don't think this year, like I said, I think I said at the beginning of the year, I think this year is going to be mainly focused on Vanguard. And from what we've seen so far, it's pretty much been the case. I usually cover like patch notes and stuff like that, but I haven't recently, just because all the patch notes are very, very Vanguard centric. I don't have a problem with Vanguard. I played during like the first strike. It's just I identified that Vanguard is going to be one of those additions to Eve that isn't really meant for me, so it won't be something that I'll be spending a lot of time doing. I would rather spend my time focusing on the gameplay that I enjoy, which is mining, industry, and stuff like that, and hopefully developing this series moving forward to be as in-depth and as informative as possible, especially now that we're getting really close to like the 3-digit episode kind of count and things like that. I really want to like have a definite goal moving forward, so not just for me to be excited about accomplishing something, but also for the viewer to be able to track progress and be excited for each installment. Now, with that being said, it's like, well, what would be a good goal moving forward? And I've thought a lot about this actually, and I think a lot of it is going to come down to maybe kind of going back to our roots a little bit. And like I've already talked about, is moving forward, we're going to be strictly sticking to a single account. We're going to try to stay away from doing multiple account, single heartbeat or solo heartbeat kind of mining. We're going to try to stick to just using a single account and accomplishing a goal that way, because I think that's going to be a lot more relatable across the viewer base and everything. And I think a good goal for that would potentially be to just go back to our roots a little bit and like track maintaining Omega as an Omega, a single account, and tracking like what it looks like to really grab and really work for getting that 1 month and maintaining that 1 month, and then seeing what kind of revenue kind of is left over from that, and then kind of utilizing that to help aid progression and stuff like that. As far as like the nomadic series I've started recently, that's one goal that I've got, and that's a little bit more of a lengthy goal. The goal for that series is to literally mine one cycle in every high-sec system, which is going to be a work in progress. It's going to take a long time. I think we still have like 1,170 systems left to go in there. That system is going to be by and far largely separated from the generalized solo mining we'll be doing in this series. A lot of the purpose of this nomadic series is to track, in video form, track the progress of that goal. So when I do accomplish it, then there is kind of like video proof of me mining a cycle in every system, and that's more of like a personal accomplishment for me. And then it would be nice to eventually expand that series into going out and doing the wormhole and the null sec and the low sec stuff, and eventually maybe over the course of the next 2 or 3 years mine a cycle in every system in New Eden, which is a very, very astronomically large task. And Right now, I'm flying around with an Orca and a Mackinac and a Skiff and Endurance and a Prospect for that, but I'm still trying to decide what my final configuration for that's going to be. I started off just using the Prospect, which is just so quick to go back and forth and just do single cycles on all these systems. So if you're really interested in like kind of that goal and everything like that, we're going to try to stick that to that series. But for this, for the most part, we're going to be just trying to like mine a bunch. I think that's what people want to see. I think that's what viewers want to see. They want to, for solo mining, I think its biggest thing is like the information and showing what what you can realistically do with a single account and how long it would take to maintain Omega. And even if we're not necessarily, even if you're not necessarily wanting to like pay for Omega through gameplay, looking at how much income you get from just solo mining and what you can do with that in terms of PI or net worth gain or whatever the case may be, explore all that stuff really too. So that's why I don't really spend a lot of time worrying about getting into Poshman and doing like Spud Main or Rakavine or whatever, or going into like low sec and doing Kernite because I'm not necessarily doing a whole lot of manufacturing. More or less, it's kind of just mining a bunch, compressing it, stacking it up, making the station sit a little lower every time I'm done mining for the day. And I think for me, just like over the course of a year or two, just never selling ore and just seeing how much crazy amount of ore we can stockpile is a very interesting thing for me, metric wise and everything. And then also just as hopefully as mining changes occur, positive mining changes occur, seeing how that positive or negative really, how that affects kind of the daily routine there too. So I know in the past I've wanted to like stick to like more longer form videos. We're talking like an hour, 30 minutes to an hour episodes for these. I'm not sure that's going to be plausible for every episode. I think that I would like to be doing a lot of daily mining. I would like to be able to get out there and do a lot of, several hours of mining a day and kind of, log that with this series as well and kind of show my progress and show directions that I'm going and things like that. So I don't think every episode is going to be very, very long form. And I think that's good in a way because I don't want to force repetitive content for the sake of, I don't want to have an hour-long video for the sake of having an hour-long video. If what I'm doing for the day is just mining and it's kind of routine and there's nothing really going on and we're just kind of like plussing up and just doing like business as usual, then I think a lot of it will like come down to like, it'll be more gameplay focused than information focused. I'm still going to try to like show as much of that as possible. Try to steer away from speeding up the mining content in the background and things like that. And it's going to be more like just a visual log as we kind of go. And I'll do my best to share kind of my inner thoughts and like what I'm kind of thinking about and analyzing in the moment. I think that's really important too. And a lot of miners probably are interested in like kind of what goes through my head, how I'm analyzing the situation in D-scan or local or whatever, and how that kind of affects, how I mine or where I mine or if I warp off or things like that. So that's kind of like the overall goal moving forward. And I think that if I can stick to that, I will be able to accomplish the goals that I really want to. And that's really just, stockpiling a ton. And I think we might have to just like pick a amount that I need to mine every month as a goal. I'm very goal oriented as a person, so I don't normally recommend people like go set a very crazy goal for themselves because it can lead to burnout. But for me personally, I know that I enjoy having like a very nice goal, and I think that getting online every day and mining and working on whatever goal that might be is beneficial to my overall I guess situation and what I want to accomplish and everything like that. And I think that's what this series is also about too, is like accountability. like the viewers being like, you're not mining very much this month, so you know I'm not sure if the goal is going to be like strictly getting Omega every single month with a single account. I think it's possible. I think that we have to be very conscious of what we're doing. Like if I went out and did rare ores like once or twice a week, then that's what's really gonna get to that Omega, right? But it's like I think I'm gonna try to do like something like maybe 100 million a day in mining or something, which sounds crazy. We're gonna see how it goes. The next episode we might actually have the goal of literally just mining until we hit like 75 or 100 and kind of see what realistically can be done. And then if we find a number, then I can do that every day. And I think over the course of a month, seeing how much we end up getting in terms of yield will be really great and everything. But hopefully, I'm really hoping that, and if not this year, maybe next year, CCP shows industry mining some love. I really don't want it to come down to where I have to like literally run for CSM as the industry mining representative, which would be kind of weird for me to do, but just to get them to like kind of like show some love. And like there's not really a whole lot that I would change right now for mining. I think that one of the biggest things right now, just based on what I've seen and what I enjoy, there should be like at least a mining ship that is like drone mining spec, right? It doesn't have to be an Orca. It doesn't have to be a Porpoise. It can literally be like a barge class mining ship that doesn't fit lasers or anything like that, but it just literally is like kind of like a Galante drone boat, but like for mining drones, right? Its role bonus is drone mining, and I think that would be a very interesting ship to have and everything. That'd probably be like my biggest request, is just having a drone mining specialized barge or exhumer or something like that. Everything else in mining right now feels okay. I think that we could probably, I don't think density is really a problem anymore because of like the ship balance. I think that if we saw a little bit more yield added in terms of each ship, then we probably would need a rock density increase, but I think it's all in a good spot right now. But I'm sure if I sat down long enough, I could probably find some pretty interesting ideas and stuff like that to help make mining better. But right now I think the biggest thing is just drone mining is a gameplay loop that a lot of people enjoy and is just not very feasible right now. So that would be like my biggest thing, is to try to either lobby a faction Orca or Porpoise, or at least some new type of mining barge or exhumer that just did drone mining. I think that'd be pretty cool, to be honest. But we'll see how it goes. Hopefully CCP will show us some love in the next few months or so, and we'll continue with lasers on. Now, with all that being said, let's go and talk about the numbers and stuff, kind of what we're doing with the Skiff right now, and if we're going to probably stay with the Skiff, I don't know. But our trips out right now with the Skiff are about 12 minutes, and we're doing Veldspar, so we're doing about 2 million in that time. So you're looking at about 10 million an hour, and then like every 60,000 cubic meters or so, I usually take a break, throw it into the Porpoise, compress it, throw it on the stack, and stuff like that. Now 10 million in the Skiff solo, not bad, right? It's just we can do a little bit better with the Mackinac, especially if we have like a pretty crazy daily skill. I think it takes me like 22 minutes to fill up the Mac, when that's 44,000 cubic meters as opposed to like 18 and some change. But like I said, I really want to just kind of like give the Skiff some time to shine a little bit. The high EHP is really nice, and I think it's a good ship if you're in an area that you're not completely comfortable in and you don't really know kind of what to expect. In a system that you have kind of been in a while, and you kind of are able to case, and the kind of the residents and stuff, then a Mackinac is great. But this Skiff right now that I'm running is like 126,000 EHP, and really I would like to just it's kind of weird to say, but I would really love to see if somebody tries to game me, to see how well it kind of holds up and everything. But like I said, in most cases, if somebody is going to scout you and they see what you're in, they're going to bring enough to kill you, because that's kind of what they do. That's their whole gameplay loop. So I'm not sure if it's really a benefit. The thing about the Mackinac is we can do better per hour with yield, and we also can technically get off grid faster than the Skiff, which is crazy because the Mackinac is a much bigger ship than the Skiff. You would assume that just based on like size and mass, the Skiff would be a little more agile. But I'll probably be running this Skiff here for the next couple of days, and just really kind of stacking it up and everything. I really want to try to figure out a good goal that I can kind of work on every single day. I think 100 million a day is probably on the high end. That would require multiple hours of mining. Like 120, at this rate we'd have to mine like 12 hours, and we'd get like 120 million, which is way too. No one's gonna mine 12 hours in a Skiff every single day. That's insane. I think it's probably more plausible to do like half of that, maybe like 60 or even 30, do 3 hours with a Skiff, 30 million a day. That adds up. I'll probably be actually like, putting in some project discovery in there, because that's what I usually like to do, is I like to do project discovery while I'm mining, because that's just even more ISK while we're kind of sitting there watching D-scan and stuff like that. But figure we'll give it a couple days in the Skiff, see how it goes, and then jump in the Mackinac, kind of do the same thing, see how that all plays out. But Mackinac has been kind of my go-to for the past several, or over a year at this point. And it is I know it's going to perform well. I know it's going to do great regardless of what my goals are. But it is nice to just kind of break out and get into a different ship every now and again. Now, in terms of, I downsized a lot of what assets I was carrying with this tune. So right now we have our crane, which is useful for if we need to go pick up fittings or heavy water or whatever. And then we have the Skiff, and then we have the Mackinac, and then we have a porpoise and an orca. Really, the biggest reason why we have the porpoise and orca is so sometimes I get the itch to go out and do like drone mining. The orca, just like in the Nomadic series, the orca is great for just putting those fitted ships into the maintenance bay. Now, I can't actually fit the Mackinac fitted and the Skiff and the crane. That's why I was kind of debating on getting rid of the Skiff, because if I get rid of the Skiff, then if I need to just pick up and go, the Mackinac and the crane will both fit nicely in the maintenance bay of the orca. And I have the porpoise basically because I'm still a big porpoise fan in terms of just going out and quickly compressing stuff. If all I had was the orca, then I would probably be sitting on uncompressed ore for a while. I'd probably wait till that orca's mining hole is completely full, and then undock it, and then use that 2.5 minutes to compress it. But right now the porpoise is kind of like the go-to for compression like that, because it's like 75 seconds. So I just basically just undock from NPC, throw on the industrial core and the compressor, compress it, and then when siege is over, I dock again. And that's been kind of like my process. It's kind of the same method I've used in like Poshman and things like that. Well, whereas in Poshman you don't just undock and do it. I usually go out to like a very remote bookmark and compress the ore that way. And we'll see. I'm trying not to hold on to a lot of assets because I don't really know kind of what the future brings. I'm going to stay in this system, or I'm going to kind of take it on the road a little bit, because I could also utilize a lot of the same, because with nomadic mining we're moving around a lot and doing a lot of stuff there, and a lot of the goals that we're accomplishing in solo mining could be technically done on the same character. I'd rather keep them as separate as possible, because solo mining and this character are very much about emplacement. They're very much about like sticking to a certain system and mining that system for a long period of time, utilizing bookmarks and all those kind of things. Like nomadic mining, we don't make bookmarks, we don't do anything crazy. We're mining, moving. We're just constantly going, and that's its own thing, right? So I did think about actually condensing all my mining tunes into just one, and then running all of my stuff through that. But I think after a lot of thought, I think I'm just going to kind of keep things as they are right now. This tune will be strictly for solo mining and placement, staying in a system, not traveling. And then the other tune that's doing nomadic mining will just continue going off and kind of doing its thing and everything. So that is the goal. And I'm really interested to see how it progresses and stuff like that. I'm probably going to try to do a lot of mining today. This is like 3 trips in this skiff, but I think normally I want to try to do probably like 3 hours of mining every day. Probably not all of it being recorded and shown in the series, because that's a lot, but we'll see. We'll kind of see how it goes and everything. But like I said, if you have any questions in terms of mining, or if you just want to know anything in general, just anything that you want to hear me discuss or talk about, let me know in the comments, and I will grab those. Every time we do a solo mining, I'll grab any questions that I see. I'll answer them as succinct as possible, hopefully provide some good information there, and we'll kind of go on this journey together and everything. So thank you guys for watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you want to support the channel and the series, consider becoming a channel member. You get Discord roles, access to member only videos, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.